things that pops up in the news quite a bit is, well, of course, ICE continues to be in the news, and that is, well, just how much authority does the feds have with the state versus local? They seem to be in conflict over this issue. Well, perfect timing, and always an honor when we have time to sit down with Michael Letts. He is the founder and the president and the CEO of Invest USA. He's also an ordained minister, has over 30 years of law enforcement experience under his belt. He's the author of a book entitled Truth, Lies, and Control, Finding Hope in an Upside-Down World. There's a picture of the cover of the book there, available online. He does have a couple of places, investusa.org, where you can work with him in making sure that all law enforcement officers have the proper equipment for protection. And his other website is michaelletts.us, and there's a picture of that landing page right there, michaelletts.us. Brother Michael, good to see you, friend. How are you, bud?
Always a privilege with you, Perry, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. All right, what is the clash going on now between the Federal Immigration Authority, governments, local jurisdiction? Will they ever get along?
Yes, once they finally realize the American people are supporting ICE, and it's not ICE per se that they're supporting, it's the fact of the matter, the job they're accomplishing. Crime in D.C. is down over 40%. Across the country, it's down over 20%. It's up in New York City. I wonder why, because they don't allow ICE to operate the way it needs to be in there. And in other municipalities where they're blocking ICE. The president's already going to be sending guard troops to Illinois to bring down that crime rate in Chicago as well. And so I think the American people realize this, Perry. It's very simple. Do you want to continue to allow known criminals to roam your streets, pedophiles, drug dealers, etc., especially when they're here illegally? Or do you want us to go on ahead and deport them? You say, what's the difference? Why don't you just arrest them? The problem with that, Perry, is this. Let's take a look at our justice system now. I think everybody listening to me knows that when we arrest you, you're probably back out the door before I can actually get back to my squad car. And that's the problem we have with a corrupt judicial system that we're dealing with across this country. However, with ICE, if we go on ahead and arrest you for a crime and then take you and deport you back to your country to where you originally committed crimes, you're back in their prisons, not in ours, you're off American soil. I don't have to ever worry about you walking the streets of America and terrorizing its people again. That's the key, and that's what America's ever getting to understand.
Oh, we in Oregon, we have seen where the police have been basically told to stand down as ICE is doing its job, and therefore ICE becomes demonized by the citizens. What do we do with that, Coach?
Well, I think it's very interesting scenario here, Perry, because technically, when you order law enforcement officers to stand down and not to apply the basis of law, you're asking them to violate the very oath. And you say, well, it's a federal issue. No, all law is applicable to Americans. You can't just say, I'm only going to apply federal law to you today, Perry, but state law to somebody else tomorrow. All the law is a law. We have a system in this country. If you don't like the law, you go to your representatives and ask them to change it. And so by asking these local and state law enforcement officers to violate their oath and not be able to be supportive of ICE, and here's what people need to understand. Here's what the dilemma is about, which I think people really didn't realize it was this bad. We're not asking local and state law enforcement to go out, forget writing tickets, forget investigating murders, forget doing armed robberies, go out and knock on doors and ask people, are you a citizen or not? Do you have your papers? We're going to deport you. That's not what we're asking at all. The only thing that local and state law enforcement is asked is, would you apprehend a felon? And you run them through the system, and it pops up that they're here illegally, notify ICE so that they can then come and take over the situation and make sure not only are they processed, but they're removed from American territory. Very simple process. Why people think that they can order law enforcement not to do that is beyond me. They're violating their oath, and I think at some point in time they're going to see very quickly the error of their ways, because this administration is moving forward to cut federal funding. You don't want to support the U.S. Constitution and federal officers, then why should you receive federal tax dollars back to your state? And there's also going to be litigation, and I feel very comfortable. Supreme Court's going to uphold the laws of law. Whether you're a state, local, or federal agent, you have to apply and implement its requirements.
How complicated is the jurisdiction, so to speak, of sanctuary state or sanctuary cities make this difficult?
Truthfully, Perry, they're finding out it's not working. Sanctuary cities are unraveling very quickly. What was their goal? Their goal was that if we're a sanctuary city, our laws don't allow you to come in and take illegal immigrants off the street or to take them and deport them. But here's the problem. The Constitution itself, written 250 years ago, gives the ability to the commander-in-chief or the president to make the determination as to how to enforce immigration and citizenship. Now, what it does do is it allows Congress to say how many people can come in this year. or should we add any additional requirements before they're allowed to come, et cetera. But the actual enforcement falls within the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. He's authorized by the Constitution to do that. And for them to just think they have the authority to create their own kingdom, their own country for that matter, is what they're actually saying in a state or city, is just beyond belief.
I want to come back to just law enforcement just for a moment, Michael. Are you sensing, how would you describe the morale among law enforcement in America today?
Well, I'll give you the cycle we were in. The previous administration is as low as it's ever been in history. We are at the lowest, but it is starting to move back up. And why is that? Because we're seeing that people, even such as your show, Perry, are beginning to say, look, it's important that we be a nation of law and order. And to do that, we have to have people that enforce the law, and we support what they're doing. In fact, we're very thankful for what they're doing from the standpoint that they're putting their lives on the line every day and risking their very future, their family, just to make sure you and I are safe. And I think people are beginning to grasp that, understand it, and so the morale is beginning to pick up, but we still have a long ways to go.
Mayor Mondani went to a police rally and got booed off the stage. You got to feel sorry for the police officers in New York when you got a mayor that doesn't like you. I don't know. How in the world do you work in that environment?
Well, let me just give you the facts. When Joe Biden took office, they had 40,000 police officers in New York. When he left, they have 23,000, and now they're down to 20. That tells you, and they've got about 4,000 or 5,000 that are considering turning in their badges for early retirement. And I don't see anybody knocking on the door begging, can I have a job? That's the problem you're going to have. You're going to have New York City fall into anarchy. And here's why that should concern you and I and the rest of the country. Because if it happens in one part, Perry, it's like cancer. It spreads. And we've got to make sure that we maintain what God himself ordained and gave us, and that's the ability for authority. We find that in Romans chapter 13, and the fact that we are expected to utilize authority to enforce the laws of the land, and that's what we need to be doing.
Do people want less police?
Let me tell you what's so shocking, Perry. We've done poll after poll after poll, because here's what the leftist liberals say, especially in the minority communities. They think that you are orgs, that you're racist, that you're destroying them. You would think if that were true, they would be the first ones to say, no cops allowed in our community. It's the exact opposite, Perry. Over 80% of minority communities are begging for more law enforcement provision. It's their leadership that use this as a divisive tactic to raise money, and that's why they don't want to provide any additional law enforcement services. They want to cut it back. It's being a political tool. It has nothing to do with the feelings and the representations of the people that we serve. And that's the saddest part. This issue has been hijacked by the left, trying to make it look like we're orgs or something that we're not, when all we're simply trying to do is keep America safe. If you think there's a better way to do it, or you don't like one of the aspects of which we're doing it in, go to your representative and tell Congress to change the law.
So where do these protesters come from, Michael? Almost like you see the same ones at every protest across the country.
You identified a very key point, Perry, but let me tell you what's even further concerning about what you just raised. Many of these are foreigners. They're actually being brought in from other countries. They're paid. We have tracked the money. We've mentioned this before. Soros is one. There's a number of entities. And I am pressing this administration that not only do we need to be going after those who are obstructing justice, talk about the protesters, et cetera, but we need to go to the source of the funding. This is an act of subversion. This is an act of insurrection. And those that are funding it should be held accountable.
So we've heard rumors, Michael, that the money comes from limited sources, but almost unlimited in amount. Are we able to track that?
We not only able to track it, we've got the documentation. That is now not rumors. That is a substantiated truth. And let me tell you what is the most insulting. Here's how it started. You had some of these key wealthy billionaires that put up the money because they want to control a global government. They want us to be a one world government, and they want to destroy America in doing so. They put up the money to start. But here's what they did. Smart on their part, dumb on ours. They used their money to also get influence in Congress, and now they have funding programs that you and I are paying for, and that's where a lot of this money is coming from. We are paying for our own demise. This is documented. We have all the evidence is showing it there. And this is what has to be shut down. Of course, to do that, you can't just have a president do that. Now you have to have, because it's members of Congress, you have to have some way of going after members of Congress. That's either through the judicial system, which you and I both know is compromised, or a military tribunal. It has to be one or the other.
So how are these protesters paid, Michael?
Usually with cash.
Really?
And they're paid. And they're paid heavily. Let me show you what our documentation, our proof shows. Sometimes they're paid $1,000 a day. Their organizers are paid $1,000. People that just want to come out and standing around are paid $400 or $500 a day. Those who what we call organizers who want to push the limits, shall we say, try to push on cops, see how far they can get, see if they can create a riot. They're paid very handsomely, or $1,000 a day. Plus, it's not just what they're paid; they're given everything they need. Look at the protesters the next time you see a rally. Professional signs. If it's cold, they have all the gear they need to wear to protect themselves from the elements. It is an army that has been put together to bring America down. And this is what we have to recognize. And this is what I want to let our viewers know. We are at war, folks, with the epics of evil. And this is what this is. And if we don't treat it like a military war situation, we'll never prevail.
All right. So lastly, Michael, I know that you, one of your passions is to make sure that every law enforcement officer has the proper equipment. You've been supplying vests, these bulletproof vests across the country. How's it going?
It's going well. We have a tremendous amount of outpouring across the country to make sure people are realizing that, again, I get back to Scripture. It's the only thing that never changes. Scripture is very clear. Greater love had no man than this, than a man who's going to lay down his life for his friends. Our first responders are willing to lay down their lives for you and I to make sure we're protected and safe. The least we can do is to give them a fighting chance. And so America's responding. And as they continue to understand the need, they respond more and more. So thank you for the opportunity of supporting our first responders, Perry. God bless you for it. Your rewards in eternity.
Go to investusa.org is the place to go where you can work with Michael and support that effort. Investusa.org. Check out his book. It's really a fascinating read called Truth, Lies, and Control, Finding Hope in the Upside Down World. There's a picture of the cover of the book. That's available online. And then Michael's website is michaelletts, letts.us. God bless you, friend. Good to see you. Wish we had more time. We'll get you back.
Look forward to it. Take care, Perry. God bless America.
Michael Letts, Invest USA, supplying bulletproof vests to the people who serve us. Michael Letts, Invest USA, taking care of our own, God we trust.